Thank you very much. We are recording.
Excellent. I'd like to open the June 25th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission for the town of Bethel, Connecticut. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let's introduce ourselves. We'll start that on the table.
Kenny Carson, Commissioner.
Douglas Kennedy, alternate.
Diane Ryan, Commissioner.
Paul Shanley, Chair.
Kitty Grant, Vice Chair. Stroll Braden, Commissioner.
Mr. Legnard,
Bob Legnard, Commissioner.
and staff we have with us.
Beth Cavagna, Director of Planning.
Amanda Martinez, Recording Secretary.
Dave McCollum, Land Use Coordinator.
Excellent, thank you. I'm just going to read into the record the electronic device use policy. Please note for the record that any personal devices used by the commission members is for the purpose of reviewing materials on the Google Drive located through the Town of Bethel website and will not be used to communicate with each other. Thank you. Let's just jump right in, continuing the public hearing for Gayatri Corporation, site plan, special permit, excavation, fill permit, and text amendment for 18 Stony Hill.
Good evening. My name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of Gayatri Corporation, who's the applicant and the property owner. This is a continued public hearing. I think we have gotten through almost all of the issues related to this project. My understanding is that we had submitted revised engineering plans and reports, and they've been reviewed by the town engineer, reviewing engineer, and there's no additional comments. Can you confirm that?
That's correct. Nothing, if there are any mention of any comments involving this application, they can be addressed at the time of issuance of a building and zoning permit, engineering wise.
So we did want to respond to a couple of questions and areas of confusion that the commission had at the last public hearing. They're generally of an architectural nature, as well as show you some revisions that we've made to the front building design. Beth or Amanda or David, can you call up the presentation package from the Google Drive? Assuming that's where you put it.
In regards to that, did you receive my notice as far as what you wanted to do with the architecturals? You had access to it and you could do what you want. I sent you an email about that.
Yes, but they were, well, that was on 126 to 140 Greenwood.
No, that was on.
That was on this?
Oh, no, it wasn't. I apologize. All right, so go to the, can you handle this? Okay,
There,
David's
that's
got it.
great. So David, can you just zoom in on that first slide? Perfect, thank you. Let me introduce Maura of 72 Architects. And well, it's her job.
Great. Hi, I'm Maura with 72 Architects. Thanks for having me back. Some great questions the last time I was here, and we put some more drawings and some revisions together. I'm happy to present to you today. One of the questions was, what is this going to look like from 84? And so I went along 84 in real life and in a Google so I could freeze it easier, and took some pictures from near the left bridge, near the right bridge, and sort of against traffic, so more straight on with picture B. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see that I couldn't see any buildings. I couldn't see the buildings on either side of us. You can keep scrolling down. I'm sure Kenny isn't exactly thrilled with this, but this is what I saw when I was going to. One more page for me, David. Great. And so knowing that what you really wanted to know is what does this building look like from the back, I do have that information for you. Go one more for me. Let's see what we're talking about first. Great. We'll jump to the front building. There was comments at the last meeting in the design about making it softer. And that was a really fun assignment for me because what does that mean, right? But also it's thrilling as an architect to take something like that and try to figure out what it means. And I do understand that the sort of overly modern ideas we were playing with in the front building, that we had this idea that it would sort of pull the rear building forward. It did come off as pretty harsh on the street. And so we're excited about this revision where we'll pull the materials from the back building, specifically the wood look siding, to warm up that facade and freshen it and make it more modern without sort of the harsh edges of the original design. So I hope that you'll find that this is a softer look at the front building. Next page, please. These are just a couple different views. This shows driving west, how you can see the building in the background and how the materials tie together. The buildings aren't matchy, but they become a family. One more page for me, David. And we did a rendering of the back building at dusk. We had talked about what the building will look like. It's not intended to be any kind of like beacon or spotlight. It's just a little soft glow with a fresh modern look on it. Some simple LED strip lights. The logo sign will be illuminated. I did clean up a typo, a drawing typo on the last generation. We'd like to have signage on each side. So there's one on the left, there's one on the right. And then if we go down to the next slide, David, I did draw the back of the building. If you could see this from 84, this is what it would look like. And so you see we have another logo on the right-hand side and a logo on the left. And so I couldn't draw it literally from 84, but the spirit of from 84 is showing here. So I think that's it, right, David? Is there another page on that or that's it?
There are no other slides for this presentation.
Excellent. That's what I remember drawing, and that is what I brought today. So I would love to talk about any of it or answer questions about any of it.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
The commission had asked us to show what it would look like if the text amendment were approved. That would allow one sign on each facade. And so that's what those last two slides show you, is how that would represent in actual practice. So you see there's two facades shown there, and then two facades shown on that last one. In terms of I-84, I want to stress that what we're showing in these pictures is current conditions. I do not know whether the state will cut down all those trees because they feel like it, which obviously would change what happens there. So I would also point out that if you can go to that first slide, David. So you can see the extra green space behind our building, which is the arrow B and arrow C, which is the land that we've told you we're trying to acquire from the state. And if we're successful, that will allow us to put a retaining wall in the rear of our property. And so some of those trees will come down to let that retaining wall go in. But for now, current conditions, you can't see any of those buildings from I-84. So that's all that we have for tonight. That I think concludes our presentation, and in the absence of additional comments or questions, we would ask that you close the public hearing.
All right. Want to open it up to the public? Is there any public question? Anybody online? David?
I see Nico J has his hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I just had a question for the developer. Do you guys have in the landscape plan any, my name is Nico Jordan, Wolf Pits Road, for the record, by the way. Are there any plans for solar capture or heat island mitigation through shading of the parking areas or any of the other impervious surfaces like the roof?
Kenny Patel here.
Manny, hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
We generally all the public speak and ask questions.
Okay.
Let me do it. Is there anything else, Nico?
Yeah, so I just was wanting to know what the landscape plan has in terms of mature shade trees for the parking area or any other ideas that the developer has for low impact development to capture excess thermal radiation from the site via all the blacktop parking areas and the presumed flat roof. There are like different green roofs or solar capture possible, or solar over the parking area has been suggested recently to shade the parking lot and capture energy to offset the increased usage of electricity running air conditioning, for example, in the summertime. There's value to be had there, I think. And I just was wondering what for this project the developer has in scope of that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Dave, is there anyone else online?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. You guys like to address that?
Sure, let me ask Maura to a little bit about the roof first.
Sure, we'll be looking to install a high reflectance roof. The older roofs, flat roofs tended to be black, and to Nico's point, they held a lot of heat and they increased not only the heat in the area, but also the cooling loads on the building. So we'll be looking to do a high reflectance roof, which will limit the impact of solar gain on the site and also help keep the cooling costs in the building down, which in the end will lower its footprint as far as energy use. And as to the landscape plan, I think I'll give that one to Peter, unless
Thanks.
you want me to wing it.
Yeah,
I can
Peter
wing
wants
it.
to
We will be upgrading the parking lot to come into compliance with the town requirements, Nico, that will have planting islands and we'll be improving those existing conditions.
We didn't bring our landscape architect.
Can I chime in as well?
You guys did do it in the first meeting.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
You have this.
Yeah.
Say it.
They went over.
Excuse me, Nico, can you mute yourself, please?
I can, yeah. I just wanted to ask, is there a landscape plan?
Sorry to interrupt. We cannot understand what the applicant is responding to because your mic is open.
Is there a landscape plan?
Yes, they could be available.
Okay, I'd be curious to know what species of trees will be planted in the landscape islands, if they'll produce shade for the parking area.
Yeah. Again, that was during the first meeting for this application. So if you'd like to reference it.
Okay,
It's in the drive, Nico.
thank you.
Thank you, Nico. Any commission questions? We'll start at that end, Ken.
No, I have none.
So I have a question. It's not related to the presentation here. But last time, Peter, we discussed the traffic study. Right? Is it your intent to have that updated with the inclusion of the development that at the time that you applied for this wasn't included in the study?
We're not updating the traffic study. We're asking you to close the hearing tonight. Mr. Hua testified as to what his opinions were as to the traffic, and we think that's complete enough.
Okay, could you, David, could you go back to the site plan, showing the back of the buildings?
The rendering?
The rendering, please, yeah, because, my view of it in my mind seems to differ from what I see. Okay, no, I'm sorry, where you show the layout, next to it, on Vale Road,
The first page?
show me. Okay.
That page?
Yes, okay. Okay, so here, you're showing the church, both of them, but along, in front of the church, but right there, it's on the other side, is this where all the homes are? Here? On Bill?
No. That's Benedict.
No, the church here. Okay, this is the Vineyard Church.
Are you thinking about the old Caballeros Grove?
Yes,
That's way off.
That's
the-
Okay.
about a mile down the
okay,
road.
so then after this, there are many,
People Charlie Chips.
I don't see here.
Because they're on the other side of Interstate
No,
84.
they're on the other side of it?
Yes.
I thought they were right there. Sorry, I thought they were
trees are.
closer to the church.
That's the satellite image.
Okay, so you're still planning on, if possible, taking down trees? Where the 84 property is?
We have no plans to do so right now.
If,
If we're successful in acquiring
right,
that property, then there will be a retaining wall built instead of what we're doing now. Sorry, we're building a retaining wall now. If we acquire the property, we can slope it down towards I-84. and that will require removing trees. But we won't do that unless we come back to you and ask you to
All
review
right,
the
because,
amended
see,
site
my
plan.
problem with that is, that's a pretty tall building, and I'm thinking of the homes over there. And how many trees will be taken down? Will the building become more viewable, to the people living over there?
I don't believe so. First of all, it's
But if you do that, you'll have to come back to us.
correct.
So then you'll be showing us what you'll be doing and how you're doing
Correct, but I would point out two things. First, the house is on,
Yeah.
Gorella
it.
Road.
Right, yes,
I think Gorella goes this way and this way.
yes, right.
Are the ones that would be the most impacted, right?
Mhm.
But they're hundreds of feet away. The right of way for Interstate 84 is very wide. I think it's 200 feet.
I know,
So-
I've been over there 4 times this week.
Yeah, okay. And second, there is a piece of I-84
Mhm.
that, well, not the road, but that is trees, and that's what Maura's
Right.
images showed. Those trees we have no control over and won't be touching.
All right, well, then I'll be
No,
very
those
interested
don't-
if you come back and.
I would like to
Very
be coming
detailed
back
plans.
and presenting that because that will mean we've succeeded in acquiring the property from the state. And that will help us do a much lower impact development.
Mhm. Right.
Without a wall.
Just refresh my memory, and I'm pretty sure the new plan has the driveway coming out past the building on top. Past. It's further down Route 6.
The current situation is there are two driveways.
Yes.
One on the left side of the property, near the
Right,
property
that's
line,
where I went
and
into.
one kind of right in the middle.
Hmm.
We're closing the one that's in the middle. And all entry and exit. will
It's gonna be at the
on
end,
left side.
closer to 7-Eleven, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, that's, all right, that's all I have for now.
All right. Mr. Legner, do you have anything?
No questions.
You have something, Diane?
Yeah, I just had a question, in looking at the fire, truck access. The fire truck from Stony Hill is gonna have to go up and turn around to get into there? Because of the access.
Not to get in, to get out, I think.
Cause it looked, I mean, maybe he can put that
Well, there's
up.
only one entrance. So.
Right, but the way it looked, it looks like it's angled,
Yeah,
so,
the truck can get in and it's been reviewed by the fire.
okay, right, I saw that, but it
Yeah,
didn't
see,
show,
exactly that.
yeah, it didn't show anything of the fire truck getting to between the two, but it kind of fit through.
Oh,
there.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cause they don't show it.
Excellent. My question, and just for some housekeeping, I have reviewed all the, video for all the meetings I missed, so I'm up to date. I know in one of the meetings, it was brought up about electric cart or EV chargers. You didn't want to sacrifice a couple parking
Correct.
spots for those. If that's something the board would rather see, to sacrifice a couple spots for EV chargers, that's something you guys would be open to?
I don't know that we can,
Okay,
to meet, and still meet the regulations.
for the
That's the
parking.
challenge, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, because we're right on the edge for parking calculations.
Yep.
I'm just trying to see if Mark Langford is on the Zoom, but, yeah, we're right on the edge for parking calculations, and if we put in EV spaces,
They don't count towards it.
they don't count.
Yeah.
The issue is really that we don't think that a hotel is really the appropriate place for people to be charging their car.
Sure.
Really? People who will be staying
Yeah.
there?
I'm thinking that someone traveling might through that hasn't
Maybe.
Tesla might be attracted to stop there,
Yeah.
knowing there's a charger they can utilize.
We don't think we can sacrifice the parking. It's a challenge.
I have no further questions.
The grease trap thing that did you
We
ever,
still don't have an answer, but
cause she's on here, so. Laura,
does Laura want to comment
I don't
on
know.
that question?
Laura, who,
Laura
Or
Basile.
Lucille?
Lucille?
in regards
Is it-
to,
The
We
grease
had
trap?
said if you didn't hear from her, then you would assume that they didn't need the grease trap.
I would say that Laura, has addressed that, and Tom, from the Public Utilities Department in her, Health Department report. If it needs to be, it would be addressed at the time of construction, but it's my understanding that there is, and Kenny Patel can probably address this
Mhm.
even better, that there is nothing that's going to be occurring within the breakfast area that would require a grease trap. It's all prepackaged and things of that nature.
That was my understanding.
That's correct.
Yes,
And if you
It's
made
not-
a change, you could add it later?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Correct. So, to add to what Beth said and the attorney, Public Utilities and the Health Department work together with the applicant, and the applicant came to both of us, and they have options. And so depending on the options that they work out with us, they would not need one, like Beth said, if they have all prepackaged commercial and very, very limited light breakfast, like when you travel, and they could grow later if they want to, and that would be done with Tom Villa and Public Utilities.
Excellent.
That's good.
All right. And one other person that came in late after the introductions, our first selectman, Dan Carter, who is a de facto member of the board. So do you have any questions?
All set. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. With that, I'll close this public hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We will move on to Re LLC, site plan and special permit, 140 Greenwood Avenue. Beth, I understand you have some stuff for us?
Yes, what I wanted to do is, take a few minutes to go over, with you this evening, some of the, questions that have arisen in regards to parking. Again, because of illness, I wasn't here at the beginning. Again, I apologize because I feel like it's gonna take forever to catch up. And, this is also located in the Google Drive. It's really parking data pertaining to 140 Greenwood Avenue in the parking lot done by staff. The count occurred, what we did was David or myself, or even I think once or twice Amanda might have gone out. Between the hours of 12 and 1:30 over a 7-week period or 38 days. The counts were taken by myself and staff. They include all vehicles on the property. For example, there were 3 large vehicles, including a crane changing out an HVAC on one of the structures, and a pharmacy delivery vehicle always parked on the property. When the pharmacy is closed on Sundays. All these vehicles have been included in the counts. The 12 to 1:30 time period was chosen based on all retail operations being open and the lunchtime restaurant crowd. It should be noted that the pharmacy and bank are closed on Sunday. All establishments are closed in the evenings. There are no posted restrictions on use of the parking area by other residents of Bethel who wish to park their vehicles to patronize other establishments located along Greenwood Avenue, including the church located across the street. Retail establishments and and they also patronize retail establishments and several restaurants located along Greenwood Avenue. If one were to incorporate the worst case scenario based on perception and the existing parking regulations for a residential multifamily use, the requirement for the proposal would be 16 units. For the 16 units would be 2 per unit and 0.25 for visitor parking, requiring 32 parking spaces and 4 for visitors for a total of 36. That's saying 16 apartments, and there's 2 cars to every single apartment that will be occupied. Using the data provided by staff and the most parking number, the 38 was the total, the most occupied of parking. Obviously, I'm not a traffic engineer. I base it on data, not on percentages. So I took the 38, right? And that occurred on, it was interesting, that occurred on the Saturday before a holiday. It was the Saturday before Easter, where I would expect there would be people downtown shopping for Easter and patronizing the retail establishments, right? It's stating, what I'm saying is it'd be a total of 75 spaces needed. Should be noted that in previous applications, the existing parking along Greenwood Avenue has been taken into consideration in meeting the parking requirements, while improvements have been made to a property. This has not been considered with the above application. Examples, when you did the note, I forget what it's called now, shakedowns or shake twos or whatever, you took into consideration the parking located along Greenwood Avenue. When you did notch 8, allowing them to do the patio outside, things of that nature, you allowed them to take into consideration the parking along Greenwood Avenue. And just for your own information, when I was coming in tonight, I did count parking spaces located in front of the English Drive complex and the other retail establishment, and there were 6. Under our regulations, they still need, under our regulations, they do need a deferral for the parking because they do not meet the regulations. But what I wanted to do was give you the opportunity to understand and review the existing situation and what shared parking is all about, because you do have the opportunity of doing shared parking within a complex. And when you look at the existing businesses that exist there versus the amount of residential that would be occurring there, it is my opinion that it will not have a negative effect on the complex overall in today's world. In regards to, at some point during the public hearing, again, some of it occurred when I was not here. And then when I was here, I just want to clarify one other point. And that is, bear with me on this one. In regards to the record, in regards to what is located in the record for the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was some discrepancies or concerns about public comments, public written comments that were submitted. For the record, and just for future reference, I will tell you the name and the address of people that have written comments in regards to this application. Rosemary Pagliaro, 88 Kingswood. Susan Pulaski, 24 Bud Drive. Lori Krishner, 148 Old Hollyville. Bartan Castellian, 45 Windaway Road. Leon Carvelis, 112 Great Hill Road. Ray and Linda Garcia, 23 Katrina Circle. Roberta Allen, Wagon Road. Suryamano Chikuri, 8 Hopkins Court. Tim and Sue Gartner, 19 McNeil Road. Baba Kasanam, 15 Bainbridge Boulevard. Dennis Bailey, 17 Winthrop Road. Daniel Villafaxius, 1 Hoyt Road. Sherry Axel, 12 Willow Street. Dana McInerney, 20 Wolfitz Road. Sandy Smith, Bradley Colts, 1 Fairchild Drive. Nicole Ward, T.F. Mira, Liz Vieira, Wagon Road. Ravi Kalari, 12 Cole Lane. Jill Anderson. I apologize for the mispronunciation of all the names. And just to clarify for the public, it does not matter if anyone is pro or con in regards to whatever correspondence is submitted. The correspondence is submitted for the commission to review in order to make their own have their deliberations, their own determination. If any of the commission members would like to receive any of this correspondence, Amanda did make copies of it if it's easier to read, because I think there's 20 or 21 letters altogether. Okay. And on that note, the only other matter I just want to say before the applicant takes over is that our consulting architect should be on the call, I believe, Alyssa Valpetti, who is our consulting architect for the TOD and for the Village Center. And we did meet with the applicant's architect, Chris Busnell, last week, I believe it was. I think it was late last week, and reviewed the architectural renderings and specifically focused on what I believe has been called the stair tower. And on that note, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 270 Greenwood Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of SRI RE LLC, represented by Shrikant Kokuri, who is, I guess, at a conference in New Orleans, free, so he's having a good time, I assume, but he should be on the video. SRI RE LLC is the applicant and the owner of the 2 properties. But to refresh your recollection, we did include both properties in this application, so it's not just the building with English Drug and M&T Bank, it is the buildings next door as well. My understanding is that there are no additional engineering comments. Is that
That's correct.
Okay. We did receive a report from the police commission that had a couple of recommendations. What I'll say about those 2 recommendations, which I'll identify in a moment, is that Route 302, Greenwood Avenue, is a state highway, and so the Department of Transportation has jurisdiction over that. So we'll talk with them about both of those items. I think the first item is that one of the parking spaces on Greenwood Avenue can present a sightline issue, because it's fairly close to the driveway. But we'll ask the state what they want us to do about it. I don't really want to lose a parking space on Greenwood Avenue. The right turn only, I disagree with. I think right turn only signs do have their value, but they are roundly ignored. The ones that we have in Bethel on Greenwood Avenue, I see every day people just ignore them. Yeah, outside of Bethel Food. Not that I've ever done that myself. But also I think putting all the traffic in one direction, if you need to go to the west towards Danbury and you're required to take a right turn only, all you're going to do is go through P.T. Barnum Square and School Street and end up right back at that traffic light. I think that's probably a worse traffic situation than allowing people to take a left turn. But we will talk with the state about it, and whatever they tell us to do, we do. So that's that. There was another open question where somebody had asked, one of the commission members had asked, I think it was a commission member, might have been a member of the public, about the height of the church dome across the street and whether or not, what the impact of our development would be on that. So we had a surveyor shoot the height of the dome, not including the weather vane. So the weather vane is a little bit higher, but the height of the dome has an elevation of 475.7 feet. That's the elevation, not the height above the ground. Greenwood Avenue, according to our site plan, has an elevation of 391 or 392, depending on where you're looking at it. So the height of the church above the ground is 82 to 83 feet to the top of the dome. And our proposal, even with the stair tower at its highest point, which is the same as the other 2 points, is 47 feet. So the dome is still 35 feet higher than our proposal. So I hope that answers that question for you. David, can you pull up the presentation package? The other open issue, I think, was what should this building look like? There were questions and concerns about the design for the stair tower, as well as the interface of the entrance to our building with Greenwood Avenue. And what we're showing on the screen right here is our preferred alternative. We've met with the village architect, we've met with Beth, we talked this through, we came up with a couple of options. This is the one that we like the best, so we're showing it to you first. I'm going to let Chris talk about it, but the highlights are that the stair tower is shorter. Prior plans had it as high as the other two cornices there. It only has 2 levels of windows instead of 3. And we added a picture window across the front. We also had a couple of other highlights where the brick color was updated to be a little closer to what's actually there. And the windows in front of English Drug are shown as picture windows with no grills, which is accurate to what's there now. So let me turn it over to Chris and let him go through the design thinking of this alternative. And then we'll show you some of the other things we looked at. And we'd love your input, basically.
Good evening, Chris Posnell, PBS Design, the project manager. Peter pretty much did all the work for me, but I'll highlight some of the areas that he just outlined for you. So upon our meeting or video conference on Thursday, to the advice of Alyssa, we decided to look at it a couple different ways. And like Peter mentioned, the tower before, if you remember, was much higher. So we had another story of windows and also had a roof on it. And it was the consensus that we had to bring it down to make it more, And so we did that. And one option that we did was basically line up the trim and all the top of the roof and basically everything that is detailed over there to match into the existing, not the existing, but the other parts of the building. And we decided also upon our conference call that it would be much better to wrap the entire first floor here to make it look like it's belonging to the existing. So, and also, Melissa mentioned, let's put a window to match the pharmacy here because this was just a brick wall before. So even though the stairwell is gonna be behind it, you'll never see it, or even if we see it, it's gonna be tempered glass, so there's no reason not to have a window there. I think it really brings up the unity of the facade more, and also doesn't make it look so blank, like just a brick wall in the middle there. Which kind of eliminates the whole side entrance thing, because I remember, you know, not a lot, but before there was questions about how come the entry is not right in the middle. And I think it was one of your concerns before. I think we covered that at the last hearing. You know, we didn't want to have traffic coming to a sidewalk, but I think by putting the window there, it really looks like it was thought out to incorporate running the trim around. So the only thing that we did different, we still feel like this tower has to have some significance as a focal point. We did white brick instead of old antique brick. And Alyssa also suggested to not have brackets on the tower, to just, you know, make it a little more different. So it's somewhat a little bit focal. But we feel that it really tied in really nicely with everything. And like Peter said, we toned down the color on the brick because we wanted to represent the building as is as much as possible to what the rendering allows us to do. So this was, like Peter said, we did 3 different options. We have this option also. David, if you don't mind, could you go to one more down? I think a view. Yeah, so this is another view of the, no. Can you go down to view 9 or 10, please? Yes, this one right here. Oh, go on back, please. Right there, yeah. So this is the same rendering that I showed you before that had the brick, but we did an option to show what it would look like if we just did siding and trim board to match the rest of the building. And it's just, I don't know, it's a little too blah. I think the white brick is gonna look really well. And David, if you wanna go to view 6, I believe, or 7, if you don't mind, right to the beginning.
Labeled that way in this file, Chris.
I'm sorry, just the first one. Yep, right there. Thank you. So this is the option that we started with, where the tower will be higher than the line over here, the soffit line. And what I don't like about this at all is there's just too much space in between the top and the window. So we discussed a little bit too. The only thing we could probably dress this up is maybe do something neat, like some sort of a sign or a clock or something to kind of hide the mass there. But I personally think it's just too much space. So that's why we decided to, if you could go back to the original one, David, please. Yeah, this one or the one with the brick. Yeah, yeah, this is good too. So this is another angle where you see we matched the soffit height and everything. And this is the one with the brick on it. On this side, it's only going to stick out a foot from the face of the existing pharmacy. So you're not really even seeing that much of a tower from this side. So, but we feel that this one is the nicest. I think it ties in very well, but yet it does break it up a little bit where there's a little bit of focus on that structure. So
What slide is that, Chris?
that is,
This is number 2 of 6 in the presentation package for tonight.
thank you, David. So I really feel that we really improved the whole look, and we addressed the concern of the tower being too big and too tall, and the colors, and you know, the plain wall here, and just trying to introduce too many different materials and too many different colors. And we really like this look a lot. So open to
Thanks, Chris.
thank you.
I do want to add one quick point. When we presented last time, Chris, he said he made a mistake, but in terms of the color of the roof, that we had proposed, which was a little bit of a peaked roof and selecting the wrong color. But I just want to point out one of the difficulties of using renderings and computers to show you what things are going to look like. If you look at this television here, the color of the brick across the front is pretty close to what's actually out there. So a little sandy brown. But if you look at that one, it's quite a bit more red.
Yeah.
So the image is exactly the same. It's just being displayed on two different televisions that are calibrated in two different ways. So I think you should always keep that in mind when you're looking at computer renderings, that color shouldn't necessarily be relied on what you're seeing on the screen. So that's all that we have. We welcome your comments and hopefully Alyssa's comments on
Wasn't,
the choice of architecture.
I'm sorry, I did ask for one other thing, and that was the parking lot. There was the lines in the parking lot were very, very poorly shown, and I asked if they could be,
We don't have that for you, sorry.
you don't have that, okay.
We spent all our time working on the architecture.
Which came out great, but
Yeah.
I would, 'cause I couldn't get a good picture of what was there. Okay.
Can we go back to the picture you just had?
David, Ken would like to go back to the architecture page.
How about you?
Thank you, David. Is that showing color on the parapet around the perimeter of the roof? I can't tell
I'm
if that's,
sorry?
is it an actual color you've got in there or
Is it shade?
the trim?
The trim?
Yeah, it almost looks like you've got some color in there. Is that,
No, that's all gonna be
Different
white
shade.
trim to match the rest of the whole band.
do you think it needs a little color?
I don't think so, because the brick, it's an off-white, so it's not really white. And the siding is actually like a herringbone.
Okay.
So I think that the difference between the nice light gray with the white is gonna look really sharp.
What is
And this
herringbone?
trim is all white here, so.
Chris, what is herringbone as a color?
It's like,
Yeah.
kind of like a very light gray, like a cool light gray.
Is that gonna come across, because it's not drawn on there, the design that comes around the other part?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually fairly close to the sample. I think we have the material sample.
We submitted material samples as part of the.
Yeah, I'm just asking whether it's the same design across
All the way
the,
around.
the stairwell.
Now, this
Yeah,
is,
because it doesn't
this,
show it
yeah,
at the top.
it's really tough to see on the screen, but this is,
I'm
brick.
not talking about the brick though, I'm talking about the
roof,
the design
trim,
around,
the trim line.
around
Trim?
the top.
Yeah,
Yeah, see how that,
Changes it.
when you go to the left, that isn't drawn there.
That is just, yeah, the brackets you're talking about? Yeah, it was, Alyssa really suggested to not show brackets on the tower,
Mhm.
to just kind of pop it out a little bit.
Okay.
We did originally have them, but it it tends to be a little repetitive and a little busy. So if we keep it nice and clean, because the tower does not have the overhang that the rest of the building does. So we have like a 2-foot soffit on the rest of the building, but the tower doesn't. So it makes no sense to put brackets on it.
You've shown a number of different renderings, and I recognize that there are alternatives. So my question refers to the various wind treatments.
Mhm.
Did I hear you correctly that you're looking to remove all the grills from all the windows?
So no, what happened was, originally I showed grills onto these windows because the new windows have grills in them. But, after talking to Alyssa, she said, show the building as is, and we're gonna stay uniform on what's there, keep the impact of the existing building as it is. So that's why I took the grills back out. But they were
Are
never
the
there.
grills in on the M&T bank windows?
Those are in, yes, those are there, yes.
The grill and then go back to grills.
Yep. So all this is there now, except this one, because we're matching the existing, but this is as is. That's as is. Those are as is. And whatever is up is new. Yep.
Alyssa is available.
I was gonna, before we go to Alyssa, I want to open it up to anybody in the public that have any questions. We're gonna skip that part. Anybody? Anybody online in the public wants to have any questions, comments?
I'm not seeing any raised hands at this time, Mr. Chairman, but it doesn't mean that someone may raise their hand later in this public hearing.
Alyssa's got her hand up. Let's see what she has to say.
Hi, everyone. Can I be heard okay? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you again, Chris and Peter, for working on this. I think the changes really are helpful. I know you don't have the old design up for everyone to see, but I think it accomplished what we were aiming for, as to make this Greenwood Avenue elevation a little subtler and also to make it more pedestrian friendly. I personally like the brick. I know we discussed this with staff and there was differing opinions, but I just think the brick is a nice way to add the texture, but yet keep the color uniform along the front. So that could be discussed, you know, a bit further, but I do like that. The only one last thing I would ask is just a quick sketch. And again, I apologize. I know these guys have done a ton of work on this, but I just think it's such an important building on Greenwood Avenue. I sent a quick sketch overlay about 3 minutes before the meeting. So I know, Chris and Peter, you didn't have a chance to look at it, but the only last thing I think I would, and again, it could be just a sketch as I did by hand, so not to take a lot of time, but what if we just lowered the tower below the cornice line? The only thing I'm not happy with is the way the pediments are kind of crashing into the side of the tower. It doesn't let them have their own vocabulary and stand out on their own. I don't know if you can put that slide back up, but the one looking at it at an angle from
When we put the slide up, excuse me, Alyssa, I think it'd be easier for everybody to understand if the slide is up while you're talking.
Yeah, yes. Which view would you like me to put up, Chris?
One or two.
yeah, the one looking like down from Dr. Mike's that way. I forget
Okay.
north, south, east, or west, but so just the way those forms meet the I'm not going to call it a tower anymore, meet the stair volume.
Okay. Attorney Olson, I'm trying to find the revised architectural that you're referring to.
You just have three.
Was it number 2?
The one you just opened, David.
Yeah, I think it was it might be the first one. The one, not the high one, the one that is
Okay.
the one that
Slide 1 and slide 2 are our preferred options.
Okay, so I should go back to the presentation plan.
Yes.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, so if you can just zoom in, thank you. So right there in the corner, the way the pediment and the cornice just kind of dies in, it's not an elegant resolution of that corner at all, obviously. So my only last thing I would ask is if you could try and lower that so we can see the completion of that triangular pediment. And I think, you know, we have the headroom above those windows. It's a stair tower, so it's not like they have a ceiling height right above there or something like that. So,
You flip down to slide 2 real quick. Can we see from the left side, it's not an issue, right?
it's not right. It's not so bad here. I mean, it's not great that it's, you know, so close, but on the other side, the way it, you know what I'm talking about. It just dies in and you don't see the completion of that detailing on the pediment.
Really a lot of taking that whole block off. It's really not. Yeah, I mean. Yeah,
So the top of the tower would get, not the tower, the top of the stair volume would just get lowered to right below that cornice line of the other two pediments.
So honestly, what I'm thinking is if we get rid of this whole band of trim and mass over there, and just line up the fascia here, there's not gonna be, the pediment's gonna work just fine. So I don't think we should lower it, and I don't think there's a need for it. But I think if we get rid of that one piece of trim there, that
Flip back to slide one, David.
that'll work. Cause it'll basically be this coming around. the
You're talking
same.
about the top cap on there. The,
Yeah. So basically that 8-inch piece of trim, get rid of it.
if that does it, Chris, then I'm fine with that. I just would like to see the completion of that triangular pediment.
No, I agree with you. That's not a problem. That would be very easy fix to do. And, yeah, we could
Actually,
definitely,
If you go to this elevation,
Mhm.
you already drew it.
yeah, that's basically what's gonna happen. You're absolutely right.
Oh,
What are
yes,
you,
that's
what are you
right.
showing?
That was one of the
That's right.
way
This is,
original.
drawing SD7,
Yeah, that was
all
a
right, and
original.
this does everything that's this
Yep.
conversation
Yep.
covered.
Yep, yep.
Can David bring that up? SD7?
Not sure if it's,
From the original architectural submission, David.
No, it's not.
it's not.
No,
Well, I did send the CAD drawing, so that should be part of the submission.
It's an elevation drawing of.
But you're absolutely right. That's exactly
exactly
what's
what
gonna
it
happen.
is.
Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that takes care of.
Alyssa, so if we take that piece off, the fascia is gonna line up properly, so the pediment will show correctly.
Okay, perfect. I'm good with that.
Um,
I think
which
it's a little
I
top
agree.
heavy anyway, so.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
No, so it's not SD7, it's different.
The concept is
Yeah,
basically there.
no, I
There's-
understand.
I think we can incorporate that change into our building.
Yeah,
permit set.
that looks very nice.
Yeah, that's a very, very easy change.
Is there any other questions or comments? Any commission members?
We had asked at the last meeting, the width of the sidewalk, how far the stairwell was
I was
going.
gonna ask Dinus that question.
Do you know off the top of your head, Dinus, who's not here for this application tonight, but happens to be sitting in the audience
So we're talking from the face of the building
to Greenwood
to
Avenue?
From the
Greenwood
face of
Avenue?
the
I
stairwell,
think we measured it about 8 feet.
and it needed to be 10, so you have the variance for less.
Well, that's a different question, I think, because that would be the measurement from the front lot line to the building. And I think the answer Dinus just gave you is from the street line to the building. Those are two different things.
Right.
Okay,
Because a portion of the sidewalk is in the state right of way.
Mhm.
Which is
so
not part
what
of
is
our property.
the side, what is the state plus the town sidewalk?
What the number
Combined,
Dinus
yeah.
gave you is from the street line,
Curb.
the curb, right,
Okay,
to the building front.
okay,
Right.
Yeah, but we don't own all of it. Part of it is state owned, so the setback only goes to our front property line.
Sure.
So, yes, but the question I have is, the current building where the stairway will sit goes back right now, so this is gonna come out about a foot. Is there enough distance with ADA requirements to that tree? Or are we gonna have to?
Oh,
remove it?
absolutely.
Because I was looking at where the tree was, it
The
comes out a
tree,
foot towards that tree, good tight through there.
the tree might have to be relocated, or, I mean, that tree is already there, but for
Yeah.
ADA requirements, you only need 5 feet, so. that should be-
I don't know that there's 5 foot between that wall and the tree once you build it out a foot, that's my question. But just, please look at that, it's one tree, it's not that.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
want to consider it obviously, because you're coming out another foot.
I don't think that tree's in front of the stairwell though. That's way in front of the bank.
Is in the picture.
No, I don't
If you look
think
at
so.
It is on the
It's just
street
trees.
view.
Oh,
it's
that,
on
yeah,
the-
the one by the black car, yeah, got it.
Yeah, there's no elevation view looking down, just see the
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it looks like it's
It is
a lot more than 5.
But there's more than sufficient room for,
Looks like there is. Yeah.
but, I mean, the sidewalk is drawn to scale properly, so it's not just made up.
On here,
Yep.
on
May I make a
the,
suggestion? You can go to the survey and scale it out since
Hmm.
Dennis is here this evening. Dennis, would you be willing to scale it out so we have a definitive answer in regards to that?
I don't have a paper copy on which to scale.
I have
this.
one here.
You've got one. It's so old school.
Excuse me, sir? I didn't hear him. So old school.
Using paper
Oh,
and a scale.
and a scale? Well, just call me old school.
Here we are.
Minus the scale in my briefcase.
What I'm gonna do is bring this over so the commissioner members can see an approximate area of what you're talking about in regards to distances from the tree. You think the same plans, right? This was used for the, I can pull it back now.
Yeah, so from the face of the building to the curb, it's about 9.5 feet, give or take. And the tree itself, looks like the tree well, it gives us about 4 feet to 5 feet. For ADA requirements, you can have sections, you can run sidewalk to 3 feet wide. With passing areas required at every 100 feet. I don't recall, but there are requirements for passing areas that are 5 foot wide, but
We take the ADA.
this will be fine for ADA regardless.
I will also say that I spoke with the building people in regards to this too. And we had the same conversation. And within the area prior to that 3 foot, possible 3 to 4 foot distance, there is an area exceeding. I think it's like 8 to 10 feet. And then afterwards, after that area, there is an area exceeding again. So the right to pass and repass does exist very, very close, approximately, I would say 5 to 6 feet within that 3 foot section.
All right. Any other commission questions or comments?
Well, I was just waiting for the parking, but I guess I'm not gonna happen.
I have a couple, questions. Well, one was the tree and the sidewalk, which looks we're, check that. I appreciate the, updates. It looks much better than it did. And just for housekeeping, I've watched all the videos of your meetings that I missed, so I'm up to date on everything. So I appreciate that. Was there any thought to put like a awning above the exterior door on the side of that, tower stairwell? Like when they
Facing
come out?
towards the bank.
Yeah, like right there, like maybe that whole corner there. Yeah, like in that little corner, 'cause you have the entrance to the bank right there and
Yeah. I'm not so sure if it's gonna fit well, cause the bank entrance is right there and I can't really see it really belong, like this kind of, it's, cause this is more, I think, historic, what we're trying to achieve here. So I don't know if awnings really.
I was just a thought I had when we were watching.
Yep.
I really appreciate the changes you guys did, cause it's reminiscent for me at least of the library.
Yep.
And
Yep.
even,
The
other
Opera
building,
House.
Putnam House and
Yep.
the Opera House.
Yep.
Kind of looks like it fits.
Yep.
So I really, I like the changes you guys have done. One question on the parking situation. Is there any room to put any more spots in, or you guys?
We've got as many as we can put in there, yeah.
Okay, there's no option about cutting into the back of the hill there and,
We didn't look at that, but it would require a pretty significant cut into the hill to get another row of parking.
Okay.
Because remember, there's parking spaces right, facing the hill. So in order to get the spaces in and the drive aisle behind it, you're talking 18 feet plus 20, so 38 feet.
And then you need a retaining wall or something.
And you need a large retaining wall, yeah.
Okay.
I think that wouldn't be practical.
okay. Was there any thought about, possibly doing like angled parking along that back to try to get more spots?
We didn't think about that. I'm not sure if we'd get more spots if we did anything.
Neither am I. I'm not a traffic engineer. I'm just,
Because you still have to have 9 feet in width.
Yeah.
At the head ends. So.
I gotta be honest, I like the project. My only hang up is the parking. That's where I'm just trying to
Well,
spitball
I
some
think-
ideas at you.
I mean, look, there's a reason you have a shared parking reduction in your regulations. It's because uses at different times of day can take full advantage of parking. And we end up not having to pave the whole town. But on top of that, I think the numbers presented to you by your staff demonstrate that this all works, that your shared parking regulation works.
Well, it works for this application, but I'm just thinking
Yeah,
down the road, if the
sure.
bank closes and a restaurant moves in there, that's gonna change everything.
Restaurants require much more parking than banks do,
Exactly.
and we would not have the parking to do that, so we would not
So
be
that's, I'm
allowed,
just, I'm just
so
trying.
we
to-
wouldn't be allowed to do it.
I'm just forward thinking a little bit.
So
So
when-
there's some shared parking across the street, which in my opinion has failed. Cause it wasn't for the empty lot next door. You go there on a Sunday, it's packed. So, just again, that's my opinion. You go there basically any day of the week. The whole side of the old bank building there is full of cars. If it wasn't for that, I don't know where they'd be parking.
Excuse me one second.
So,
Well, there isn't any shared parking over at the, 155 Greenwood
is it
Avenue.
on the backside?
There's no shared parking. There's a parking reduction.
Gotcha. Well, I
Okay,
stand
there's a
corrected.
difference. I apologize. I just don't want all of you to get confused
Yeah.
one way or the other. It is truly a parking reduction.
Gotcha. Well, again, that's, the parking is my concern, so.
So, just a couple of comments. That particular project, I can't, and you can't legislate for people being lazy. There's plenty of parking on School Street for all those businesses and plenty of parking on Greenwood Avenue, but people are lazy and they park it wherever they
Of course.
want to park, right? The bank, when we did that project, the bank was very clear to us that they were going to be
Towing.
towing, yeah, and they don't seem to care
Yeah.
anymore. Probably because they thought they need the parking for their bank and they don't anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
But you know, I know I say this almost every meeting now, is you can't predict what people are gonna do to park right in front of where they're going.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's that. The process for changing a use in a building, just so everybody understands how it works, and your staff can help you. If the bank went out of business and we wanted to put a restaurant in there, we would have to come in with a zoning permit application. And Beth would look at the parking demand for a restaurant and say, that's more than a bank by plus whatever. And your parking provided is zero.
I was just, again, I
Zero
use restaurant. as
Right,
an
right.
example.
But the point would be that can't happen.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that could go in there is a similar office type use. And maybe it's an office use that's not open on Sundays,
Yeah.
like the bank, or maybe they are open on Saturdays. I think that has to be assessed in the future on that particular use.
So, thank you. Anything else from anyone?
I have a question about the age of the building and, review of toxic materials or anything like that. Is your,
So I can't hear you, Diane.
a review of the building? I know Laura Facile had made a comment in one of her letters about, doing the work while people are in English drug and in the.
Yeah, so Chris talked about this first meeting, I think, is the construction plan is essentially to build over the existing envelope and not touch it. Chris, can you give a little details on that?
Yeah, most of the work, there's gonna have to be a little bit of a structural work that would impact the lower level, not the bank, but the pharmacy. That will be done only on off hours. But after that, everything we're planning to keep the structure intact and basically built on top of it. The existing roof on the pharmacy and the bank, believe it or not, are gonna stay as is, and our structure is gonna be above that. So there's gonna be a gap separation in between. So think of this whole structure being kind of lifted up. We're only gonna have some columns where, the preliminary engineer report showed them. Overall, we're not doing anything inside the pharmacy. The bank just renovated their space, so we're not touching that. So, everything that we're gonna do, we're gonna have to be done on off hours to not disturb the tenants, and also keeping in mind that we don't want to disturb any of the spaces below. So that's gonna be some significant structural engineering that, the client already hired, for a preliminary report that we have a design in place, and, but that's kind of the approach. So we're not really, I shouldn't say not really. We're not refinishing, we're not taking on any materials, we're not doing any removal of finishes or asbestos or anything like that.
Not that we know there's asbestos.
I don't think so, because the building is,
Yeah, it's not as old as you
is
think.
not as old as you think. Yeah, yeah,
No,
No.
80s.
I think, yeah.
English?
Mr.
I mean, I
Legnar,
remember
here
the
when I
kid going
came
into
here.
the English in the building far to the left, so. It was not always at that site.
Mr. Legnar, do you have anything?
And time, I moved in 71.
Yeah, I have a couple comments here. I'd like to ask. I think in Beth, if I'm getting her report right, thinks shared parking is already working there. And that whole parking lot gets shared with the whole town. Because I've seen people park there and walk directly across the street during tax season with their taxes to a building that has no parking at all. And I think the parking that's being shared already, the town, if it works for the town, it should work for this project. And I like to see this plan work just from the standpoint of it's an investment in the town to have this project work. Thank you.
All right. Sir?
The
You wanna come up-
elevator is still included?
You want to come up front, or you need your, for the recording? I just need your name and address, sir.
David Vieira, 8 Wagon Road. And the elevator is still included in the building?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Is that it?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Is there anything else from the commission members? Yes, sir.
One more.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing I want to
Last
add.
one. I'm just kidding.
I'll return this. So actually that's a very good question that Mr. Vieira brought up, because due to the elevator going in, we're actually losing 2 parking spots. Or 3. I don't remember exactly. Was it 2, 3? But in turn, that elevator allows us to have, like I mentioned in the previous meetings, all the units being accessible for 88 people. So I think the trade-off is really worth it to lose those 2 spots,
You
create.
could show it in one of your drawings.
Yeah, all the drawings show the elevator from pretty much day one. But my point is, we are losing 2 spots. And I know that parking is a
No,
big thing for you, but
2 spots for elevator is a good trade-off. I'm
Oh,
just,
for the people living there.
I'm just wondering,
But I'm
is there
saying-
a way to reconfigure
Yeah,
to get another
yeah,
10?
it's just,
You know,
when
is
it's
there
so
space to do
tight,
that?
when it's so tight and you need all the spaces you can get.
Yeah.
We are losing 2 there because of that.
And I appreciate that. I thank you for playing.
Mhm.
But there's always a trade-off.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
To lose 2 spots to gain an elevator,
yeah,
that's a no-brainer, if you
Yeah.
ask me.
yeah,
So again, I was just asking, I was more
No, you're
concerning,
yeah,
is there bigger fish maybe in the back or
Yeah.
somewhere else?
yeah.
Mhm.
Beth, would you think we should, in your opinion, hold this open while waiting for or ask for a continuance for the finalized drawings, or is that something we can take care of?
I would say in the past, what you've done is, it's either been taken care of during your time of deliberations,
Mhm.
or it's usually a stipulation of any approval. After, the drawings are finalized, I would bring them back and have you
So we can
do
look
a
at the
final-
general parking.
final
and things
view
like
of the
that.
of what
We
is
can do
gonna
that
be
during
built.
our work session? We can review those?
You have 2 options of doing this. You can do it, during work session if it's done, but I do believe it's gonna entail another meeting with, another review by Alyssa and myself, working with Chris Busnell. That may take time. I would make it a condition. If you're thinking of rendering a decision in the positive, I would make it a condition.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of rendering a decision in the negative, then I think it's imperative that we do get that going before your decision is made.
So based on prior experiences with development in the TOD, my understanding is that the town requires additional architectural review of the building permit set,
That's correct.
to make sure that essentially what you expected to approve ends up in the building permit set. And so I think an appropriate condition would be that building permit set is up to you for review prior to.
As well as the parking.
And you'd be comfortable with that?
Yeah, we'd be comfortable with that. I'm not sure what you need for the parking. I mean, is it
Well,
just a better
what
image?
I was telling you is that the parking that we were shown, the lines were barely visible.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to
So-
see,
So what we'll do, I don't think we need to keep the public hearing open for this, but I'll
no,
ask finance
but
to.
can you add that to what? someone later?
Yeah, but we'll just do that in the next week so that it's part of the record.
Okay.
We'll submit the same plan that we submitted, only the CAD file, the PDF
lines.
file will have stronger lines.
Sorry, that-
But we'll put that in
that's
right
what I
away.
asked for.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry we didn't have it for tonight. We were
Mhm.
focusing on the architecture.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
I don't think anything that we've discussed here, whether it be, you know, the finalization of the architect drawings or, you know, the parking is a real deal breaker as far as that goes. Or a deal changer even. I think they're both issues that can be worked out. You know, when we go into, discussions on this before we make a final decision or make it part of our final decision. So I think we ought to close the hearing.
Thank you, Bob.
I agree with you, Bob. I was just, I was gonna ask the rest of the commission if you guys are any
Yeah, we can
concerns.
close it with the conditions.
Well,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right.
Before you vote, here's a question.
Yes, sir.
If you were to get additional parking data, can you guys go do additional parking studies outside of, after the public hearing, before they deliberate?
No.
Since it was done at lunchtime.
Right.
Lunchtime is not the time, I believe, to do the parking. We should look at the evening too. There's only one snapshot. Can that be done from staff prior to their decision? Or is it if they close the public hearing?
I would disagree with you.
I understand.
And the
We have
reason, no,
disagreements
and the
there.
reason, no, the reason I would disagree is that, this is the site plan concerning one piece of property and the actual uses associated with the property in conjunction with the proposed uses. And that is the focus of, this particular site plan. As far as its public use, it is not posted that it's private property and you cannot park there. So it is, in my opinion, it's as a courtesy that the property owner is allowing evening activities to take place on the property, including Sunday
And same
services
with
and things
daytime.
like that. And same as daytime.
Well, I'm just saying that there could be some obvious flaws because of the time this was done. If it's not pertinent because it's private property, then
And I'm just giving you my,
People-
you know, my take on it, my feeling, and
I
you,
know.
and not, what I was doing was using the regulations pertaining more so to shared parking than to what goes on, because their concern was more of the, parking regulations in
and
regards
shared
to
parking happens
this.
at all times of the day. But we can have that off. Let's just, this for offline.
No, but I just wanted you to
I think
understand
the
where I
12:30
was.
the 12:30 to 1:30 window is probably when the maximum parking usage for the current uses occurs.
Absolutely not.
Because you've got the pharmacy,
Absolutely not.
you've got the
But we can-
restaurant that closes and the bank which
Yeah.
closes.
I
But the
understand.
rest of the
A
town.
lot of folks use that lot in the evening, so that's, I'm just asking.
I mean, again, the property owner has allowed that to occur, has not towed people, has not posted it.
Mhm.
If there's a problem where his tenants in this new building aren't able to park, then it will get
We have
posted.
to, yeah,
And he will
sure.
not allow people to do that.
Yeah.
And that could change if there was a parking agreement made with the town of Bethel.
Which
There
we,
is no,
which I
Well,
think
we've
we
been
will
saying
pursue.
that for 20 years,
We will be pursuing.
not representing this particular client.
No,
I
that's-
must advise, but.
Anyway, that's for another discussion.
You're not
I
gonna-
had one little thing, when Tree came in with the concept, I did what Beth did. Not, my numbers are not here. But I do the food bank 5 mornings a week, and so I would go to the town, I would go to the parking at 8:00, 8:30 every morning. And then every time we finished a P and Z meeting, or, whatever meetings I had in town, I would go there at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And the parking that was in the back was almost nothing. I mean, it was really almost nothing. So, I mean, to add the 38 spaces on top of what was there originally, I think we're okay. I'm pretty sure we were there.
I just want to make sure everybody understands. The parking data that I was collecting was based on the uses that exist on the property now,
Mhm.
after observation of the busy times of when these uses were
Yeah.
open.
Mhm.
And,
Which made a
and
big
think,
difference,
which
yeah.
makes a difference.
Oh,
And
big
maybe that's too old school for me, but I always look at the existing uses that are going on and
Yeah.
determine what's the best time to go and observe parking dates.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
why I brought it
basically
up.
what I did.
Because I did it at night.
At night, everything's closed, so
So
therefore
there's
I have
nothing.
no interest in what's going on
Yeah,
the
but
property.
maybe 10 or 15
If that's
cars
a
in
fault of mine, then that's my
Nope.
fault.
I'm
You
not
know,
saying it's
I
anybody's
apologize.
fault.
No, but I'm
I'm
just
not saying
saying that,
We'll talk offline.
okay.
Well, is the rest of the commission comfortable, closing the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well,
So you're gonna declare it closed,
this
Mr.
public hearing
Chairman?
is closed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
1979.
What?
The field card says 1979.
Okay.
You're
79.
close,
Pretty close.
right on the edge.
I just have this memory of walking into the other English garden. And I can't have been very mean.
Amanda, do you have all the notices for
Or,
next
and
week?
I knew it wasn't in the 80s.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Hi. Sunshine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay. So we're opening a public hearing for Festina Animal Health LLC for a site plan special permit at 25A Turkey Plain Road.
To appear June 12th, 2024 and June 21st, 2024, public notice. The Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on June 25th, 2024 in Conference Room B of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut at 7 p.m. to hear the following. Shastina Animal Health LLC for property located at 25A Turkey Plain Road for a site plan and special permit to construct a two-story addition to existing animal hospital. The property can be found in the assessor's records as map 17, block 28, and lot 06-2. A link to review the materials can be found in the town's website. The public may send comments via regular mail and email to landuse@bethelconnecticutct.gov. Parking for the hearing is located in the rear of the building. Paul Shanley, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, for the record, Dinas Verbicus, professional engineer with Artel Engineering Group. Here on behalf of the client, to discuss our proposed, expansion of the existing animal health center, on Turkey Plain Road. I have, the green cards I can hand in.
Thank you.
To our adjoining property owners. So, just as a matter of history, the animal hospital, or excuse me, animal health center, was opened or built in about 1985 through a site plan process. And in 1985, the building was about 5,000 square feet, upstairs and downstairs. And it had then, and it still has, about 8 parking spaces located across the face of the building itself. And the vehicles nose right into the building. Oftentimes there are parking vehicles parked along the edge of the existing pavement, which runs generally parallel to Turkey Plain Road. In 2002, there was an application made and approval granted for an expansion of the building by about 700 square feet to the north face of the building. There was also a parking area depicted on the north side for 10 deferred parking spaces should they be needed. However, that addition never was constructed, nor were the parking spaces put in. Now, the current proposal is to construct roughly 1,900 square foot addition to the south David's playing with me, to the south of the existing structure. And again, that would be a two-story addition with a connector hallway connecting from the existing building to the proposed addition. Currently, the animal center is pretty cramped for space. There are no real doctor offices in the building, so the addition is to help give some elbow room and bring the facility up to a higher standard. The addition itself proposes room for several office spaces on the upper level, as well as room for a place for employees to actually sit and have lunch, as opposed to sitting at the reception counter or at their desks or square. It also provides for restroom facilities on that main level as well. The lower level of the addition will be dedicated to animal play area and for basically a doggy daycare, boarding of animals. That's a use that currently exists, but will be a new facility expanded into this proposed addition. David, if you could scroll to the next plan, please. That would be our site plan document. So again, this drawing is oriented the same way as the survey document was oriented. The proposed addition is again to the south of the existing building. What I wanted to point out here is the outdoor play area that currently exists will be shrunken down a little bit and compartmentalized into about 800 square feet to the south of the proposed addition. It's a currently grass or turf area, and it'll, I believe, continue to be a turf area and used primarily, for animal pickup, as well as for a little bit of outdoor activity for the dogs. As parking is a premium currently, we have proposed to expand the parking facilities associated with this. We retained parking along the facade of the existing building, but where there's currently parking parallel along the eastern edge of the parking lot, we've expanded ever so slightly to the east to provide some additional parking spaces. And then we've teed up or straightened out the driveway and provided for some additional parking and driveway access to the south of the existing building.
Is that the existing driveway or is that a new one?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're proposing to widen out a little bit as we get into the site, the existing driveway. Again, kind of straighten it out, but trying to retain the existing curb cut in its current position.
And is that going to be, so it's going to be same scheme it is now, in one side, out the other?
Correct. Well, we have the ability, because we're straightening things out and eliminating a little necking down or narrow portion of the driveway at the south end. By widening on site, it allows us to have a two-way travel on this southern driveway. But I'd suggest and recommend that we retain a one-way in on the northern driveway. That's current configuration. As working with the DOT sometimes is a bit of a challenge, we prefer to try and keep things in the right of way as they are, to the degree possible. So with all this parking, we thought we have incorporated also sidewalks along the nose end of the parking, and the sidewalk would run completely across the entire edge of the parking area in between the building and the parking spaces. And we also have incorporated kind of a meandering sidewalk that works its way down to that lower level of the proposed addition.
What's next door?
We have next door, there's a home to the back, and I believe it's vacant to the south side, but I'm not
It's a
certain.
residential home.
Okay. Apologies, when going to the site, it's all woods, so it's difficult to see anything beyond. But the proposed additions and play area, they're all retained within the building setbacks in this particular zone. David, if you could scroll to the next drawing, please, that would be our grading and utility plan. A lot more lines to look at here. But topography on the property rolls generally down off of from the road. And as specifically as we roll from the north to the south and also from the east to the west. So as you might imagine, in order to put in this parking, we're going to have to reshape the slope of the property here, bring in some fill, then elevate the parking so that it retains a 5% slope. So it's, gentle enough to park on. And because we're increasing our impervious cover, we've proposed a couple of stormwater management systems. They're both subsurface stormwater management systems. One is located kind of in front of the existing building, between the building and the roadway. And we've got a larger stormwater management system located to the southern end of the property. Basically, it's kind of L-shaped, and it's that shape because we're working with the existing contours. So we're laying this system into the ground, following the contours generally. In this area where there's a high concentration of lines, this is where our existing septic system is located, and we have proposed for this to expand the existing septic system and take some pieces off of the existing septic system. Currently, the existing septic system extends eastward a little bit from where we have it shown, but because of the health code, it does not allow us to put a septic system greater than 8 feet below grade. So in order to navigate around that regulation, we're proposing to lop off, it's a good engineering term, lop off a section of the existing septic system and relocate it towards the west side of the property. So the septic system that is currently existing appears to be in good condition. And we are proposing to make it bigger and better for the proposed use. In working with the site, we are looking to, even though it's woodland in this portion of the property, basically the southeastern portion of the property, we're trying to work the rest of the property within grassed areas. So David, if you scroll to the next drawing, this is our proposed landscaping plan, proposing to put in a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees along the frontage and also to the rear of the property. And we've got some parking trees proposed in the parking islands. And again, a mix of deciduous and evergreen, spruces, junipers, maple trees, and the like. Quite a bit of hydrangea as well.
There's
to
some
bring
really big
color.
evergreens there now. Are those coming down?
Well, the intention is to try and retain as many as we can and there are quite a few right along the road frontage in the state highway. So we'll leave those. We will be removing, I think, at least 2 or 3 in the front here to
White pines.
make way.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit dirty trees, but still nice, just the same. Oh, and I forgot to note that we will, the property is currently served by an on-site drinking water well, and we're proposing to continue to utilize that well for the time being. We do have building elevations also that were submitted, although David, I think they're in a separate file from what you've got here. So if you could switch off to that, please. Terrific. So these are, this is the lower level plan for the existing building and our proposed addition. David, if you could scroll to the next drawing. And this shows the usage of the existing main floor of the existing building, and then into the addition. Of course, we'll note that there's a corridor or an elevated corridor that connects the two. Basically a corridor that wraps around. South portion of the addition again would be for a place for staff to eat and do other social things. There are a couple of offices proposed for the doctors. There's even an office here for animal dental procedures, and as well as a restroom to the rear and other typical uses of this type of operation. If you can go to the next sheet, please, David. It will show us the elevations. And these are the elevations. So to the right of this drawing, that's a southerly view, or standing from the south looking at the existing building. And then a portion of the building will be in the shadow of the new addition. And you'll note it's a 2-story addition. This addition has lower access for rolling doors to allow to allow opening the outdoors to the indoors for free flow, as well as person doors, allowing for more controlled access in and out of the lower space. Then we've got the elevation, which is to the front of the proposed addition. Although I'm sorry, it doesn't look like the front, but
I think it's the
yes,
left-hand
no,
side
it
of
is.
that,
It is the front. So the existing building, it's just a piece of it here. This is the connector that is above, and then here is the proposed addition. Again, a simple gable end. It'll be open, and there will be a stairwell that goes underneath it, that goes from the lower level to the upper level. So you can also have access via exterior stair between the levels.
Is that staircase covered or exposed to the weather?
It'll start off being covered, and I think it ends being exposed. But again, it's a matter of convenience, not out of necessity. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. We are in receipt of comments from the engineering company that's prepared a review. We just got the comments. We have not yet started addressing them. And we will start working on that towards the end of this week. And we are anticipating perhaps comments from the health department regarding their review.
My report will be.
And of course, planning staff review as well. But I think it's a fairly straightforward application, and It'll be quite an improvement, and in addition to the local folks and their pets.
You didn't show, and maybe you just didn't mention, they have an outdoor area, fenced-in area where the dogs could go outside. Is that still on the, I don't remember you saying.
So we, David, if you can go back to the site plan drawings. Right now, it's a pretty sizable area.
It was
That's
before,
an
yeah.
outdoor enclosure.
Mhm.
Next sheet, please, David. Thank you. So, the area now, is limited to roughly 40 feet, lengthwise, running from east to west, and about 20 feet outward, from the building. So about 800 square feet.
That's gonna, that's gonna be added? Or is that-
Yes, this would be a new,
Okay,
outdoor enclosure.
This is the existing.
yeah, but it replaces what's already there, but there now.
Yes, and right now you can kind of see it. It's the parking space lines, but or similar to that. But there's a fence line that comes out this way, and basically an enclosure in
Thank
the
you.
area of the addition.
I just didn't remember asking.
So the path from the parking lot down to the new building
That's what that is.
is approximately 7 feet elevation difference, approximately. I'm just.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
All right. Now, is the intent that clients would not go into what used to be the main entrance and go down to this new location?
Well, I think, I'm not sure of the operations, but I believe that we'll utilize both. But this, as I understand, the addition will be primarily for pickup at the end of the day. Although, not these.
Is it with snow and ice and all that?
It'll have to be maintained. And originally on the, on the plans, we thought, well, a direct route, and we had incorporated steps, and we thought, what are we thinking here? It's difficult for some dogs to take the steps, so we created a long path instead. A place for pups like to sniff and do their business before going in, so.
Do you have an elevator in there?
No elevators proposed, no.
It's a very good question. Did they, with respect to the services, is this an expansion of the doggy daycare part or more the medical part?
I think it's a little expansion of both.
I mean, it's good for the community. I'm just curious.
It'll provide specifically more elbow room. It's kind of cramped waters.
Before we get too crazy with questions, I'm gonna open up to the public first, but before I do that, you got a planner's report?
Yeah, there was just a few things I wanted to go over with the commission. One is that, how did the veterinarian hospital come to be? It was done through a special permit. The owner of the property located behind the veterinarian hospital, built the hospital in front of his home. The second thing is, remember, is that even though it's rather secluded out there, it is located in a residential zone, the 2-acre zone. So in the distance surrounding the properties, there are residential homes. The second thing, and again, I will forward this to Diane so we can discuss it with the doctors involved. I think it's important to review the lighting plan in relation to what is proposed as far as the addition due to the proximity to the other residential areas. The main question really is there going to be change in hours of operation of the facility itself. Presently, it's open, I believe, on 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 8 to 1 on Saturday, and no hours on Sunday. With the inclusion and expansion to the doggy daycare and other possible uses associated with it, if there is going to be a change in operation, we need it in writing by the veterinarian, and we need to review it with them, because you have to take into consideration the normal and customary uses in a residential zone, and a veterinarian hospital is the real exception to the rule. I would tell you in the past, there have not been complaints about the veterinarian hospital, but with the inclusion of this use, it could affect the peace and neighbors surrounding it. Last thing, and I'm trying to move this quickly only because you have such an evening, busy schedule. Anyone who is going in and out of the facility, when you leave that southern driveway going up onto 53, and I think Dennis, you and I discussed it, there is the grade and the lip to get up there to make a left or a right-hand turn is very difficult to do. And if you could, or if you haven't already, look at that grade to see if we can flush it out a little bit so it isn't as so severe.
So, and in response to that, we did in our planning massage that a little bit, although it's a bit challenging to make everything fit in there. But we can look to further massage.
Thank you.
And respond back at the.
And that's all I have to say.
And with respect to your comments on hours of operation and so on, we'll respond back to you in writing as well.
Thank you.
The next meeting.
All right, I'm gonna open it up to any public here have anything to say? Questions, comments, concerns? Anyone online?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any commissioners? Any questions, comments?
Yeah, we said another meeting for this.
Anything? Mr. Legnar, do you have anything?
No comments.
Okay, so I'm gonna continue this public hearing until our next meeting, which is July 9th, 2024, here, 7 o'clock in the evening. Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to new public hearing for ECB Realty LLC, site plan and special permit at 22 Stony Hill Road.
Okay, so here, June 14th, 2024 and June 21st, 2024, public notice. The Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on June 25th, 2024 in conference room D of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut at 7 p.m. to hear the following. ECB Realty LLC for property located at 22 Stony Hill Road for a site plan and special permit to construct new gas station slash convenience store. The property can be found in the assessor's records as map 71, lot 109, and lot 01. A link to review the materials can be found on the town's website. The public may send comments via regular mail and email to landuse@bethelconnecticut.gov. Parking for hearing is located to the rear of the building, Paul Shanley.
Thank you. And we're gonna immediately continue this public hearing until July 9th, 2024. Here, meeting will start at 7 o'clock. We're gonna move on to our business meeting. And I'm gonna seek Doug Cooney for Mike Kozlowski, who's not here tonight. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from 6/11?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 6/11/2024.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who abstained?
Doug.
Okay.
And for the record, I have reviewed the video from that meeting. Invoices, do we have any? I know this is none. Okay.
And may I make yes, can we take a 5-minute break right now,
Sure.
please?
Before you start,
Before
the deliberations with Putnam Park Road, you do have several, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
If you've got to leave, go. But you do have 4, or I believe at least 3 or 4 professionals on the call waiting to,
Okay, then
For 9
I'm going to get up.
okay.
Introduce yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Don't rush.
I won't.
No running.
Not possible. Not possible.
What are we doing?
Before we're gonna move into the work session.
Business meeting? You
Nope.
have no invoices, you did your minutes.
Yep.
I apologize then. If you have to recuse, I have to recuse, and she's gotta run the show.
Yeah.
Take your
So,
recess, I
we're-
wasn't thinking.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back here at 8.
Is there a?
Do it in a remote.
I'll
Excuse me, we're conducting business here.
I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute recess and be back here at 8:50 to resume.
Second.
Stop recording.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. David, please stop recording.
Recording has resumed, Mr. Chairman.
Now we are gonna resume our meeting, and I am recused from the next applications. I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Grant.
Thank you very much.
I'm recused as well.
Yeah, okay, so we're heading into the work session for Tim Draper, 830G Affordable Housing, 6 units, 9 Putnam Park Road. Before we start, I would like to ask Mr. Andrews a question. We have just received numerous copies of material. Are these all materials we have received before, or is there any new material in here that should be read?
Yes, Chuck Anders for the record, attorney for the commission. What I believe, as you recall, on the last night of the public hearing, I believe Mr. Trinkhouse submitted a paper copy of a response to some earlier reports from our experts. And the commission and the applicant at that time also insisted they wanted the public hearing closed. So the result of that is that the applicant submitted responses, but you didn't get to hear responses from your own staff and directors and so forth. Under the law, it's okay for the commission to hear comments and to hear comments from staff after the close of the public hearing, provided that there's no new factual information. In other words, if they're just commenting on data that's already in the record, then that's what they're doing. And they're not doing more field investigations, say that the applicant didn't get a chance to review. That is perfectly okay. You can do that just like you can talk to your other staff. You could talk to Beth or to Dave or to myself during deliberations. You can also talk to staff. But that's sort of the limitation, as long as it's not new, factual investigation and type materials, but simply commenting on on what is already in the record. It's okay. And that's my understanding as to what the comments were. I believe Ms. Vasile just wanted to respond to the late filed comment and the other experts as well. So
Attorney Andrews, may I expound upon that and just clarify the commission, the new documents that are before them?
Sure.
Okay, so the response from Steve Trinkus, which the commission receives dated June 4th, is one of the documents before you. You also have response comments from or additional comments, I should say. I want to make sure I get the names and the dates right. From Ryan Boggin of the Bethel Health Department, dated June 7th, 2024. You also have email responses from Laura Vasile, dated June 24th, 2024. An email response from Todd Ritchie, dated June 25th, 2024. An email response from Chris Pawlowski, dated June 25th, 2024. And I think that's it. And unless there's one that I'm missing there in your paperwork that you have before you. Oh, and there's additional comments that were just submitted tonight from Laura Vasile. Those, I believe, are dated June 25th, 2024.
And Ryan Boggin.
That was before.
Yeah.
Dave mentioned.
Oh, okay.
But no, my only comment, David, is this material that we, should we table this and go over this material, or should we just question everybody's right here and now?
Well, you have your experts that have been present for the majority of this public hearing. Then I'm sure they can introduce themselves, but Laura Basile, Director of Public Health, Chris Pulaski with Civil One, working consultant about the Health Department, and Todd Ritchie, the Planning and Zoning Commission's consulting engineer with SLR International Consulting.
We also have something from Mr. Trinkets that I just saw his name, that's dated tonight.
That's dated tonight?
Well, to the 25th, excuse me, at 2:00. I have not seen this before.
Todd
Rich.
No, it's
Yeah,
Todd.
no, Mr. Trinkets is in here somewhere.
Here's Trinkets.
No, I thought I saw his name somewhere. So
We
that's
have one.
Richie, that's Basile. They're both Rich. I thought Mr. Trinkets' name must have been on there as a result of what was happening. Okay. All right, so I guess we could just talk to our people who are here right now. Yes?
Yes, if for anyone on the board who wants to ask any of those experts any questions, now would be the time, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay. All right, so, Laura Basile, do you have any comments you would like to pass on to us right now about it? You know, we're going through this, but when we've asked Mr. Pincus about it, his opinion is much different from yours. So, would you like to comment?
Yes, I thank you for this time with you. You're correct. The health department cannot confirm that suitability has been demonstrated to the code. I've put that in writing to you. I've also outlined why there was groundwater monitoring that was not done. There's a stormwater mounding study that we're waiting on. There's an intermittent water course that came up for consideration. Therefore, the public health code and a local health director does not recommend creation of a project that doesn't meet suitability, so that we don't create adverse health outcomes or nuisance conditions or adverse scenario for health and safety. Mr. Trinkus, in his letter dated June 4th, had brought up a comment about rainfall versus groundwater. And I have written to you, and you will have access to more data if you so choose as we evolve, because we use the USGS periodically. But the chief of the United States Geological Service, he advised me, and it's in some of the literature you have, that just because there's rain in July and August doesn't mean that that recharges into the groundwater. That because of how it absorbs into the atmosphere or how plants take it up, they could be apples and oranges. And that's why the USGS data that you have would not sync one-on-one with rainfall data. So that issue about how high the groundwater is at the wettest time of the year still needs to be vetted out for that property for this type of project.
Do you think when you receive the rest of the answers that you've been seeking, that your view could be different when you receive the rest of the materials you've requested?
Well, we always stay flexible.
Always good day, right?
I would, the health department and I would like to have the work done that we have asked for since March, so that we could do a determination as per the code. That's what we do. So I remain flexible, but at this time, it's not suitable.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have questions for Laura? Ken?
No, I have nothing. So I have a question, Laura.
Oh, Bob, go ahead, Laura. Bob.
So Trinkus's letter did not change your opinion on what needs to be done.
Correct.
Thank you.
So my question is, your engineer has refused to create the overlay that has been asked for since March. Have we received that? Even though at the last meeting, we showed him that he has it already as part of the cover page. Have we received the overlay that we asked for?
The septic plan still does not have the stormwater system on it. And we still can't conclude the work that is routine and we're trying to do that the state recommended that the local health department do.
Thank you.
Diane, do you have any questions?
Laura, they mentioned that someone who had been in the health department did some test a long time ago who's no longer there. And they didn't really know what they were going to do with the site at that time. That's what I understood from what they had to say. And then someone asked, I think Bob asked whether or not a septic would be acceptable there for a 4-bedroom, because they kept mentioning about, we could always put 2 4-bedroom homes here. Do you have anything that from the town that was referring to that? Because they didn't mention, and I asked if they had anything in writing and they didn't.
No, so what you have from me is a clarification. Ryan Bogan, who does still work with the town of Bethel and Bethel Health Department, has written to you to explain his experience with the project engineer for the record. Soil testing is a pretty straightforward routine appointment where you look at whatever a engineer or a project designer lays out for you. And it could be simple or it could be complex. It could be staked out. It could be 3 hours and very sophisticated. In Ryan's case, he was called out and he witnessed deep holes, which I put in writing to you, that the engineer handed him the record logs. They walked around and they looked at the holes. They did some simple conversation on the matter, and that was the extent of it. So that's pretty routine unless somebody wants to hit it out the park right up front. The health department likes that, of course, so you could get your whole act together and do it with us one time up front, or in some cases do phases. But in this particular case, Ryan went out and he looked at deep holes, and I do wish that groundwater monitoring had been done. I do wish that we had soil tested in the wet season so that we could have avoided some of the issues that you've had to hear about.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Todd Ritchie, do you have any further comments to give on, after looking at Mr. Trinkus's answers to your questions? Anything be pertinent for us to hear?
Good evening. For the record, Todd Ritchie, professional engineer with SLR. I did submit some comments in response to Ms. Vasile's email with some of her own comments that she had drafted. I think it was this today. It was specifically relative to the health code. I am actually I sit on the advisory board for the state health department for the health code. So I'm very familiar with the requirements of the health code. Just noting that the health code does state that no permit or approval shall be approved for any new subsurface disposal system where the soil conditions in the area of the leaching system are unsuitable for sewage disposal purposes at the time of the site investigation. And as SLR has stated previously, there's a significant depression in the surface of the soil between the septic leaching rows, the proposed rows, that was never investigated and documented with the health department. And the engineer says that this area is impermeable, which, if is indeed factual, makes that soil unsuitable. since soil analysis must be based on condition of the natural soils at the time of investigation. Standing water was also observed above ground in the depression, which makes these soils unsuitable. And the presence of standing water in the depression was subsequently acknowledged by the engineer, the design engineer. Also, the code states, no permit, technical standards of the code, shall we say, we do reference it as the code. No permit or approval shall be issued for any new subsurface disposal system where surrounding natural occurring soil cannot adequately absorb or disperse the expected volume of sewage effluent without overflow, breakout, or detrimental effect on the ground or surface water. So again, SLR's comment is per page 59 of the 2024 Department of Public Health technical standards. The receiving soil means the naturally occurring soil within the leaching area and surrounding soil that is available to disperse effluent. Surrounding soil for a leaching system that disperses effluent along a hydraulic gradient includes the soil within at least 25 feet down gradient of a system less than 2,000 per day, which we have here. The plus or minus 600 square foot depression at up to 24 inches deep is located as close as 13 feet down gradient from the proposed leaching trench, row 1. It has not been investigated and documented with the health department and appears to be unsuitable since standing water has been observed above grade. The engineer has also stated that the depression consists of impermeable soils at the surface of the ground, which implies this existing natural soil that's observed at the time of the site investigation is not suitable for receiving soil per the 2024 Connecticut Department of Health technical standards.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia.
I have some questions.
Please. Ken
Mr.
Parson?
Ritchie,
Yes.
Kenny Parson here. The last meeting, I asked you several questions and you shut me down. I have several more questions. I wish you to listen to them very carefully and answer them to the best of your ability.
I don't appreciate your hostile tone, sir.
You were hostile to me the last meeting. You shut me down. I asked you several
I
questions,
did not shut you down. I answered your question.
but you did not answer it.
Well,
asked you-
if I didn't answer your questions, you could have asked me more questions.
I'll ask you
I was
now.
not, I was not hostile to you.
Then be quiet and let me ask my question.
Ken will be respectful. Thank you.
I demand respect, please.
Well, then I demand it also.
I have respected.
Then be quiet and let me speak.
Okay. Thank you for the disrespect. I appreciate that.
Can you build a 4-bedroom house there? Could any septic system work?
Sir, I answered your question when we spoke last time. We could go and pull out the meeting minutes to say we have to determine suitability first of the soils before we could design any septic system on the property.
So the
That is my answer, and that's not disrespectful.
the surrounding houses that are very close to this all have functioning septic systems. So you're saying on this site here, there could never be a septic system?
I did
No,
not say
Ken,
that.
Ken, can I?
Hold on 1 second. I did not say that, and it's disrespectful for you to put words in my mouth.
Hey, I'm just telling you what I'm saying. You're also implying that if this guy doesn't reduce his number of units.
Again, I am not implying anything, and I don't appreciate you putting words in my mouth. I am not implying. I have stated what my opinion is, and I have not mentioned anything about units or anything about design.
I'm trying to ask you
suitability of
questions.
soils, sir.
If you just be quiet and let me ask the questions. Can any septic system, if it's re-engineered, work on the property?
Can I, is it acceptable if I speak as the Director of Health?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We always look at sites and help property owners maximize use as appropriate per the code. And that's what we need to do on this site. And Mr. Ritchie is trying to say that because these issues cropped up about what the highest groundwater level is and how much suitable soil is there, further investigation is required so that we understand what size septic system can occur. I have done several septic repairs in that area, and they have been very complex and very sophisticated because of the water and the hydraulics. And I have the maps, and you can come in and I'll show you.
I believe you. I
So,
believe you.
so I am open to when the applicant wants to continue the investigation and the analysis that is necessary. Together, we can see if it's going to be it could be, we're open. You know, we never want to limit. So if they had come in for a 2-bedroom home on the same house footprint, which the health department had talked to the applicant about, of course, that would have been the easiest project to assess. Of course, right? Because there was a 2-bedroom there since 1900, and the septic system was probably not code compliant, and nothing was done for a very long time. But if we use the same house footprint and we have public water, we probably could have found the best possible repair if necessary for that 2-bedroom house. However, most people want to improve their property. And that's where the assessment comes in, and knowing all the site limitations that we discussed with you. So I know they can be frustrating, but they're very important parameters for understanding the uses.
I understand what you're saying. My problem is engineering problems have engineering solutions. If there were some negotiations in here to reduce the number of units or expand the system, maybe we wouldn't have been here.
Well, I actually, in one of my letters, offered that. So if you look back in March or April, I kind of suggested, could you please call us and could we work this out? So if you look in March, the health department asked that, and we said, could we do the work that's required and get this done before you had to hear about it in several meetings? But we don't force people.
This is the 3rd meeting. We have piles of paperwork, engineers and analysis all saying it's no good. And there's no recriminations here about, well, maybe we can make some adjustments here, reduce the number of units to 2 families. I'm just saying something could have been done, as opposed to a mountain of evidence that says, no way, it's not going to happen.
Except for that, Ken, if I could adjust that, what it says is we need to do more work for what you want. It doesn't say that nothing can happen. It actually tries to meet the applicant where the applicant is at. That's what we do professionally. They have a pretty extensive ask for the 1.2 acre lot that was a 2-bedroom home since 1900 on a small footprint. To have 2 structures as significant as they are, 2 septic systems, a major stormwater system, and that parking lot is extensive use of that property. But the health department goes for it with the applicant. So what you're saying is a response to the applicant asking for what they want. But it also says in earlier letters, call us, let's either go for what you want and see if you can get it, or let's see what your next option is. But the applicant has to take that next step.
Should have been in inland wetlands. This should have been all worked out before it got here.
David, do you want to comment on that?
I'm sorry, I was bringing something up on my screen. Can you ask that question again, Madam Chair?
I'm done.
Ken said this should have been brought to inland wetlands first. I didn't see anything on the application itself that would have called for that. Did you?
Okay, so I think to clarify the context for that question, the commission asked the applicant to conduct some soil tests on the subject property at 9 Putnam Park Road. They had a soil scientist go out and produce a document for the commission that that gave an explanation for what the area on the site where the water was ponding was. In conjunction with that request from the commission, there was a request, as I've mentioned on the record at least twice now, from an abutting property owner for concerns relating surface water that flowed to the east away from the subject's property. If there was a topographic map on screen, it would be flowing downhill away from 9 Putnam Park Road. So the town hired an expert, a soil scientist, a professional wetland scientist, Matthew Sanford, who produced a soils science report that indicated that there is an intermittent water course on one of the properties nearby, 125 Milwaukee Avenue. He shows an area that stems from that intermittent water course wetland resource, a 100-foot upland review area that extends, that appears to extend onto 9 Putnam Park Road. They also offered comments in response to the report from Mr. McManus regarding the standing water that was seen in the engineering report that was produced by Mr. Ritchie. In response to that, Mr. McManus gave an email the evening of the Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting. I will bring that up on the screen because I don't want to try to quote Mr. McManus's email without having it up. So just bear with me on that if you don't mind. Okay. Okay, can everybody see this?
I can't.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Who here is this?
I'm sorry?
Okay, JM. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a report from, this is an email that was received from Mr. McManus shortly before the Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting on that Tuesday, June 4th. An excerpt to take from this email, and I quote, however, within this depression, there is a small area of poorly drained soils, i.e. regulated wetland soil, within the bottommost part of the depression. It is worth noting that I can easily jump over the area of poorly drained soils with little effort. In these situations where I can step or easily jump over an isolated wetland, I typically do not map those locations as wetlands, as in my opinion, they are too small a mapping unit. Okay, so the applicant soil scientist explicitly mentions or states that this area contains a regulated wetland soil, and then further identifies it as an isolated wetland. If there are in fact wetlands on the property, and if there are activities that could be considered regulated as defined in Bethel's inland wetlands regulations, and furthermore, if there are any activities that would take place within the regulated upland review area that stems from the off-site intermittent watercourse, that would prompt the applicant to bring this application before the Inland Wetlands Commission for their review. And the Inland Wetlands Commission would have to render a decision on an application before the Planning and Zoning Commission could render a decision for perhaps this application. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have any questions questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, okay, so I believe we have, everyone has given us a ton of information for, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bob, do you have any other further questions that you would like to ask before?
I have not a question, but I think, you know, we've been in an impasse for, you know, several meetings on this whole thing.
Exactly.
And we're looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, we're looking for a compromise. The people draw lines in the sand and won't budge. We're not going to get a compromise.
Yeah.
What we're looking for here is our experts, like I said in an earlier meeting, our experts we have to rely on to give us expert testimony as to this particular application. And that's why I asked Laura in my question before, what had Steve Trinkus' letter that he presented at the before we closed the public hearing, did anything in that letter change her opinion on what needed to be done to make this project go forward? And I think we got the answer tonight. And Ken, I understand the frustration. This thing needs to be settled, but it's going to take both sides wanting to settle it and not both sides going in different directions. And we can't really judge on which, you know, side is the right direction for us to go in.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I understand that there's a ton of paperwork that has been given, but I'm telling you, after reading, I went over everything again today. And several times, Mr. Ritchie and Laura have asked the applicant questions. And from what I heard from Mr. Trinkus was that his application was exactly the right thing. And he actually said that in 40 years, he had never had a septic system called back or had a problem. I think what I'm hearing is that our experts have said one thing and our applicant has said something else. And I think we need to discuss this. Well, we have discussed it. I just think that we have to say that we need more information, and I don't see it forthcoming right now. Chuck, do you have any comments you'd like to add right now, please? Mr. Enders, I'm sorry. Oh, you're quiet.
You're muted.
Muted.
Sorry. Chuck Anders, Trinity Commission. Just maybe a couple of comments. Just first questions. I didn't know if Mr. Polisky had any comments.
Oh,
I know we asked the others and we didn't check with him.
I'm sorry.
And then I had a question for the engineers about the comment in the letter from Mr. Trinkhouse's letter that the stormwater management system is not an infiltration system, and whether they agree with that. It just on the record, if they could address those two questions. First, one was
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Todd, would you like to answer Mr. Anders' question? Or Mr. Velazquez, whichever.
I'll let Chris go first.
Chris, would you please?
For the record, Chris Pulowski, licensed professional engineer with Civil One. Thank you for your time tonight. We did submit an email with just basically saying that there are still outstanding comments from our review letters that we have provided. I won't get into them, but I just wanted to make that known for a fact. And then also in regards to the question from Mr. Anders, the attorney, we do not believe that we do believe that the stormwater system is a stormwater infiltration system. There is currently an open bottom of the stormwater system, which comes into contact, which means stormwater will come into contact with the soil beneath it. And we have made this clear that this needs to be shown, the stormwater system, on the utility plans, the septic plans, so we can verify the appropriate separating distances are met. But again, the short and the sweet is that we do believe that the stormwater system as currently proposed and shown does count or qualify as a stormwater infiltration system.
And just to follow up, and that's because I think Mr. Trickhouse was saying, well, it's all impervious underneath there, so therefore it counts as impervious. Do you I don't know if you submitted soils to data to do that, but that's what I understood his claim to be. And it sounds like you're saying, well, the fact that it's open, that makes it an infiltration system, whether it's pervious or not. Did I get that right, or what am I missing?
That's correct. So typically what we would see in an application like this is you can put like a clay liner or an impervious fabric at the bottom of the system, which prevents the stormwater from coming into contact with the beneath soil media. Mr. Trinkus, the applicant's engineer, is not proposing that at this time. He's saying that he can compact it to a 95% compaction, but it's missing the point that the stormwater is still coming into contact with the soil media that's beneath those chambers or that stormwater infiltration system. And again, we were asked to opine and review the septic plans. I'll refer to Mr. Ritchie for more information regarding the stormwater system, but it is the opinion of Civil One that it is a stormwater infiltration system.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie?
Todd Ritchie again for the record. We have the same perspective on the stormwater system. It is an open chamber, open bottom system, as Chris mentioned, that will have stormwater come in contact with the underlying soil. That's how this has been designed all along. And as I pointed out in my review letters, which is, on the record multiple times, the design engineer mentioned and referred to infiltration occurring from the system into the soils below. Compaction alone is not going to prevent infiltration. 95% compaction is not some sort of magical standard for infiltration not to occur. The only way to ensure you can even get infiltration or water transfer through concrete, through cracks. I mean, nothing's 100%. So in this case, as mentioned before, and as Chris mentioned, we always look to have an impermeable liner put in so that's actually the case, or a sealed pipe system without open bottom. So that's typical. That's standard. I'm not sure why this particular design is not consistent with that. And I see no reason at all why, and I've said this before, why information cannot be all, and particularly the drainage information, be all put on one plan. I've reviewed many of Mr. Trinkus's plans on behalf of the town of Bethel, and up until this point, all of that information has been on the same plan without any issues. And as mentioned by the commissioner, that information is actually on the same sheet, on the very cover sheet, the first sheet you look at, but it's not on the, I guess, proper septic sheet, which it should be on. So that's something that just whenever you come into a simple ask or a simple question like that, and you're not provided with what you ask for, I mean, it kind of goes along with all the other comments that we haven't received responses to along the way. So yes, is there an impasse with reviewers and the applicant? There has been. I think it's been pretty obvious. We've tried to focus on the most significant things through this process, and I think that we've struggled to do that in a way that is productive, because the response that we've gotten is resistance. It has felt like along the way. Nobody's trying to stop this project, as somebody referenced before, and nobody's trying to not allow something to proceed, but it's hard to say, like, when you're put on the spot as a professional, what could be done. Like, we haven't even gotten to the point of suitability. The applicant can certainly rearrange and redesign the septic system in another portion of the property, perhaps, and maybe that requires redesigning the development in order to accommodate the septic system that's not being placed right where potential wetland depression and open water stands. I mean, it's like the worst place, I would think, that anybody would want to put a septic system on a property. So there's constraints such as those that are pretty obvious. And it's a fact that, we have been talking about concerns about groundwater and how wet it is in that area, not just that property. but that the groundwater monitoring was brought up at the beginning of this whole process. And that groundwater monitoring, unfortunately, could have been done through this entire process while this whole hearing has been going on, and we could have concluded it and had answers. But again, there was resistance by the applicant to do that, and that's unfortunate because it could have been handled while the whole hearing process was occurring. So my answer is, just again, to reiterate, is I do believe that it's an open bottom infiltration system because maybe it's not designed to infiltrate, but it will allow infiltration, and the stormwater system allowing infiltration, that alone, is the criteria that needs to be met for separation distances from the septic system.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Chuck?
I know, Madam Chair, you'd asked me a question. I dodged it by asking her. I just wanted to get some stuff on the record. I think at this point, the staff is looking for direction from the commission. Again, this is an 830G application, which means that the issue isn't compliance with the regulation, but whether in order to deny the application or condition it, you have to find that there are substantial public interests in health, safety, and welfare, that those interests outweigh the need for affordable housing, and they cannot be addressed by reasonable conditions. So and you have a choice. You can credit, you can believe Mr. Trinkhouse and find that, find him to be credible, or you can believe, it's up to you to who to believe. So it's your call on that. And so that's kind of what we're looking for direction. The two central issues, and I know there were some issues, there may have been a landscaping issue or parking or a sloping issue. But the two major issues were the suitability for the septic, because that's a major public health issue. And then the other issue was the wetlands, because they didn't get whether you think that they should have gotten a wetlands approval, and they haven't done it yet. So those would be sort of the two bases. And that's where I think Dave and I would be looking for direction from the commission as to, whom you credit and how you want to proceed with this. And then we would draft a resolution for you to consider probably here next meeting.
David, is there anything further you want?
I have nothing further to say other than staff is looking for a consensus from the commission to either draft a resolution of approval or a resolution of denial.
Okay. Commission members, listening to what I've heard, and the experts and reading Mr. Trinkus's work, I don't believe we have enough answers to draft a resolution to accept. So I would say that we have to. I would like to say, have him come back and let's go through the suitability study, but that's not where we're at. So I think what we have to do is vote on, what do you think? Whether we should do it to accept or for denial. So I myself would be voting for denial.
Denial.
Diane?
Denial.
Ken?
Accept.
It would be okay. So we have a three to deny and one to accept.
Bob.
Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, Bob.
Madam Chair,
Forgive me.
point of order, Madam Chair. Actually, what you should do is frame it in the form of a motion in a second.
No, we're not going to
Is that what you're doing?
vote on this. We're just getting a
Consensus.
Consent.
yeah, consensus is how you want us to draft a
I know,
resolution.
no, consensus is what we want. I didn't make a motion.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
Okay,
I
Bob,
stand corrected.
Bob, what was your consensus for this application?
Accept or deny.
Accept or deny?
Okay, my consensus, I would say deny it until we get, there's three other experts here saying one thing. And I think we need to listen to them as they give us their expert testimony.
Okay, so Chuck, what do you suggest we do? We have
Yeah, I think so. Again, I think what we would do, there is a resubmission process under 830G. And so they would perhaps, I mean, the additional information they would need to do is to, assuming if you credit the wetlands that, again, that there is wetlands on site and it looks like a regulated activity, then they could apply for wetlands. That's the way to do that. It sounded like the additional work from that is Laura was saying you needed to do the groundwater testing during the high water period, right? Right, Laura, that you need that information before you can make a determination about suitability.
Correct. And sometimes I can check, the consultant can check, the USGS is going to call me back. There are times when beyond the routine wet season, there is another wet period. And if that happens, the state allows testing during that time as well. It doesn't happen every year, but periodically that there is another time period when the groundwater is at its highest level and meets the standard. So I have the USGS calling us back to give us further information anyway, and we will monitor that. But the applicant knows how to monitor that as well.
Okay. Yeah. So that would be what we would do. We would provide guidance as part of this, that this, for a future application, this is what you could do, and maybe this time period. And then there you address and then actually provide that data so we can make the suitability determination, and also do the wetlands. And perhaps, the wetlands may take a bit, so maybe that could stall time for them to if another time period opens up. So I don't know, that would be it. I mean, the idea is, I think, as everyone said, is to provide guidance to the applicant. Again, it is in the record. I know both Laura and Todd, Mr. Ritchie, have stated that, hey, we told them early on, why don't you just do it in March? But okay. So maybe there's another way. So that's the idea, because this is an affordable housing application. It is we want increased affordable housing. It's a good thing. You've approved many of Mr. Draper's affordable housing applications. You want to continue to do that, and so that's the goal. And we put in the record, the ways we've worked with applicants in the past to approve affordable housing applications, and so that's how do we do it here. That it wouldn't be a snotty denial. In other words, it's a way to provide guidance based on the expert stuff in the record to address the major public health issues. And you don't want the septic, effluent going out onto the property. You want it to stay underground. And from what I've understood from the experts, saying that they haven't shown that it won't. And that's kind of what we need, even the basic suitability issue. So anyway, that because the question has been arisen, well, can we make it all a condition? And I've understood our experts to say no for and even their expert says, that the basic suitability, sort of the threshold, hasn't been met. And we're not asking for the detailed design. It's even the basic suitability issue has been met. So.
Okay. So that's where we stand, David?
So let me just clarify, if I may, Madam Vice Chair. So there's consensus from the commission for staff and council to present a draft resolution of denial for this application at the commission's next regular meeting on July 9th.
That's true.
That's true, yes.
Okay. And would you want staff and council to use the language that has been discussed tonight as the template for the 2 reasons to base this denial?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would there be anything else that the commission would want to add with regards to public health, safety, and/or welfare?
Well, I mean, I think that we should, in this denial, is there any way to let Mr. David know that he can resubmit and we can work with our experts? Is that
Right, we would certainly indicate that.
good? Okay. We have a consensus on this, everyone? Bob, yes?
Yes.
Ken? No? Yes, okay.
So this was unanimous.
So now it's unanimous.
Okay. Very good, Madam Vice Chair. We will have a draft resolution of denial for the commission's review at their next regular meeting on July 9th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Kitty.
Yeah.
So we don't leave here with hard feelings.
Oh, no.
Kenny has a frustration of how long this has taken and why it hasn't taken a smoother path. And we certainly respect Todd Ritchie's expertise in this by any means. And we'd hate to say that he was disrespected. You know, I think it's out of frustration why this thing didn't go smoother.
Mhm.
And like I say, we respect the experts and have to listen to the experts.
And thanks them greatly, really,
We
for all their
appreciate
time
you.
and all their work, which was an abundant amount of work. And we thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
if you wanted to say in the future how to, if they came to the town and worked this all out ahead of time, we wouldn't.
With
be-
who? You mean the
The
applicant?
Right.
Oh, of course.
Having a
that-
review
that
ahead
goes
of time.
without saying. Yes, but they
And we
would work
wouldn't
with,
be-
or if they would work with our experts.
Right.
That would be a much better place for them. Absolutely. Okay, yeah. Mr. Cuny, would you want to go tell Ms.
I will
Kavaga,
give them.
Mr. Chandler to come back to the room? And thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your time, patience, and expertise. Thank you. Okay, what are we doing now? What are we doing next? What?
Oh, it's the,
Okay, so the next item
Oh,
on the
what
agenda.
is it? Oh, okay.
Okay, you have two easements. I'm sorry, are we moving along?
Yes, wait, yes, we need Mr.
Okay.
Chandler, get back.
So
over
if
there.
you recall, you had an 824 to 824 referrals
Yes, right.
dealing with 42 Plum Trees Road. The one that you have in front of you is, the easement for the electrical. Okay, if you look at the locations, when you put electricity in, you have to have an easement to allow it's private property, private roads. You need to allow for the electric company to be able to go in and service. The second map that you have here is the one for the sewer easement. This is the easement with the town of Bethel.
Same copy.
it's the same copy.
Please tell me that. No, it's a different kind. Sewer easement, this is a sewer easement. It's a straight line going in, Whittlesey Drive, over, and that is to allow the town of Bethel to go in and maintain the sewer line, main sewer trunk line, if need be, for the future. So one is CLFP, the other one is the town.
Okay.
And this is an 824 referral by the Board of Selectmen. It's been reviewed by staff and also by town council. And if my question to you is if you would be willing to give it a positive report, so we can, if you are interested in giving it a positive report, make a motion to do so. And just make reference to the two maps in regards to it. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
All right, does anyone have any questions? No.
Make a motion to,
Good, Bob.
referral to, the Board of Selectmen to create these easements.
Second.
There you go.
Kenny with the second?
And with the
We do a
second,
roll call vote.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
aye.
And I'm a yes.
And I will,
Absolutely.
and I will insert the, reference documents, dates and survey titles and things of that nature in order to make it easier for you. That's all.
Planners report.
Planners report, as far as planners report, I think you done very well this meeting, so you're on it, processing the public hearings in such matters, and, at this point, I would say no report.
Excellent.
It's like time off for good behavior, I think you just said, right?
Do we
There
have,
you
Because
go.
of a timeout.
do we have any commission comments? I'll say one. Bob, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. We've
I
said-
I just wanted to address, the email I sent to Beth last week. I apologize, or 2 weeks ago, I apologize for not being here, in person to go over it. I went back and watched the video again, and, if you were to do that and see what Mike Kozlowski's comments were, it's like he was in my head. So if you want to go through, but, I just want to start the conversation. I have a few things I'd like to review. And I think, some other members of the board have some other things they'd like to review in TOD. So that's something we could get the ball rolling on, maybe later in the summer, once the current TOD is applications behind us. I don't think it'd be appropriate to talk about TOD when we have the current application open in front of us. So that's all. I was just trying to start the conversation, and think about having a conversation with us, the board, in the near future, and then we can decide if we need to bring in some experts, or, you know, I missped, you know, maybe misspoke by saying have a public hearing. But I just wanted to get during a meeting, let's maybe put that on the schedule when we have a lighter meeting and get chatting about it.
I think that's a good idea that the commission, but we talk amongst ourselves first
Yeah.
about what's there and what's not. Because there's been such a period of time and circumstances that have changed in this town so much that I think it was for us first.
Also with
And
the
then-
state level,
At the state,
DOD
yeah, of
is
course.
becoming an item up on the state level. So I want to make sure we're not quote unquote caught with our pants down, to see what, you know, get ready to, what possibly could be coming. So I just want to start the conversation and then we'll go from there.
Good idea.
So I just wanted to clear up any confusion, with that. So with that, if nobody else has anything, do we have any public input?
I don't want to be the first person to talk.
Come on up.
You're
first and last.
There might be somebody online.
My name is Nancy Sudik, 2 Ridgedale Road. Anyway, this is a really easy one for all the hard stuff you have to do. This is going to be totally simple. I watched the video from June 11th, I believe it was, because I couldn't be here in person. And I just have a comment to make about that, and I hope you guys will take this very seriously. I had to listen to the whole thing twice to even start to make sense of it, because everybody's talking over everybody. So you cannot hear what an individual says. You can hear, you just hear noise, and you have to keep listening and, you know, backtrack a little bit and listen again. So I kept backtracking, and then I listened to the entire thing a second time, caught a little more, but there really was a lot of talking over one another, and it would be so helpful if that didn't happen. That's all I want to say. Isn't that simple? Thank you very much, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Anybody
Oh, you're very welcome.
Anyone online?
Whoever's
Um,
staying. Nico. For a while.
Nothing? Nancy, to address your concern,
Oh,
just,
2 Ridgedale. Oh,
no,
what?
you did. I just
Oh,
wanna,
that kind of address.
Go ahead.
I know that, Beth earlier mentioned to me that this week she's planning on trying to do a test to get maybe some microphones or something out here so they can hear it better, because right now
Yeah,
the
I heard
recording is
about
coming
that.
from that.
Correct.
We're working on what we have, so we are trying to make it better. So I
Good.
just wanted to
good.
know that,
The real issue was when 2, 3, 4, 5 people are all talking.
Yep.
That's what the real issue is. I
That
don't
was
think
a
any,
problem, that people were just speaking out.
on that particular meeting, I don't think that normally is the case.
No, it's not.
No, but that meeting
It
it
was
was.
on the 11th.
And if staff was trying to do a transcript for that meeting, we would give you
Oh, you've never
a look.
been able to do
Yeah.
that.
Because it'd be inaudibles, a lot of inaudibles.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
in
Yeah, a
the
lot of
transcript.
information gets lost.
It does.
But it was very difficult.
Okay.
Oh, I have no doubt everything's difficult, but
Not everything.
wasn't that was such a softball question?
Thank you so much.
It
Thank
also
you.
helps if we say who we are, because you can tell Kitty and me, because we have the women's voice. But when you're online, you can't tell what men are speaking. That's what I found being online.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I know you would kill me, so
That's a good idea.
and I don't know what's with them.
all right, well, if there's nothing else,
Motion
then,
to adjourn?
we are adjourned.
I have a second.
Second.
All right,
Second. We all second.
we are
All
adjourned.
approved? We all approved.
You can stop recording.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.